Hello, I hope you're well. Today I'm going to be talking about how to go to bed on time so you can wake up early. I hear from so many of you in the Smart 20s community that tell me your biggest goal, the habit that you really want to create, is waking up early, and the biggest obstacle is going to bed on time. So that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. If you don't already know, I don't edit these videos whatsoever, so you might see me sipping my water, which I need to do already. There's a few reasons I do that. The first is that I know if I let myself edit it, I will probably over edit it, and then I will convince myself that no one wants to see it and it's a pile of shit and I shouldn't publish it. So I don't want to do that. The second thing is that I really want it to be like how we would actually have a conversation if we were face to face, and obviously there's no editing with that. So I hope that's all right with you. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get to bed on time, and I'm actually going to be suggesting that not getting to bed on time is actually self-sabotage and procrastination, and that this is super common among perfectionists and why that's the case. So let me just check this is recording. Yes it is. So that's what I'm going to be talking with you about, and I hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions or you want to send me an email, and if there's a video you want me to do or something you want to tell me, send me an email, sam@smart-20s.com, or you can say hi in the Facebook community. I'll leave a link down below. So getting to sleep on time. So what I mean by that is, if you want to wake up early, you need to get a certain amount of sleep to make that easy for yourself. So I'm the kind of person that as a perfectionist, if I always want to feel productive, and sleep doesn't feel productive. So if I want to get stuff done, the first thing I cut is sleep. This has led to a lot of burnout, and sorry Steve, I'm sure I've been a bit at times because I just haven't been sleeping properly. But there's the flip side of that, where not getting to bed on time, you still want to not get enough sleep, but staying up late is a way to procrastinate. And I see it a lot. People that want to wake up early, they really struggle. They say, I want to wake up early, but I can't because I am too tired in the morning, or I can't get to sleep on time. So when it comes to time to wake up, I've only had 4 hours of sleep or whatever. So that's really what I'm talking about. And I think this isn't we all know the tips and the tricks for this, and I'm not going to be talking about them. I mean the stuff set an alarm to remind you to go to bed, and don't look at screens, and what else? You know what I'm talking about. All that advice about how to do it. We know the how. You're smart. You know how to go to bed on time, but you don't. And that's what I want to talk about. The actual underlying reason that you don't go to bed on time, even though you know how. You've got your alarm going off saying, oh, it's bedtime. You haven't looked at your screen, or you probably have, but this isn't about that tips and tricks. And that's why a lot of my videos end up being quite long, because I think, it'd be so easy for me to put together a 10-minute, all those tips and tricks for getting to bed on time. I want to talk about the real underlying issue, which is the self-sabotage, perfectionism coming into play. And I only really believe that it's once you sort that stuff out that you can get to bed on time and start living the life that you want. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. So please bear with me. This is so important, and I'm going to try to give you some things that you can actually do, but it won't be that fluffy advice. It will take effort and energy, but everything good does. So, going to bed late. So, I'm talking about, if you are staying up late and you're not being productive. So, if you, instead of creating a morning routine, have created a nighttime routine, and you do your best work, say you have a blog, or you're an artist, or you love reading, and you do those things best at night, and when you're doing your nighttime routine, you are truly, truly enjoying that time and making the most of it, then I'm not talking about cutting that stuff out. What I am talking about, let me just put my phone away because I keep looking at it. What I am talking about is if you were staying up late, you were spending hours scrolling through Pinterest, you are watching Netflix, binge watching Netflix, you're just essentially, you can't pinpoint what you're doing. You're not doing anything to make progress. You're just kind of fluffing around, filling the time. Then you're staying up late, which means you can't wake up early. So I'm suggesting to you that this is not an issue of you not knowing how to get to bed on time, because I know you've heard the tips and the tricks. And they're all great, but if you don't have the mindset and you're self-sabotaging, then they don't really matter. So what can happen? So perfectionists, and when I say perfectionist, by the way, I don't just mean that you have really high standards and you're a bit of a control freak. I'm talking about perfectionism that is fear of what others will think, fear of not being good enough, fear of failing, also fear of succeeding, fear of, putting yourself in a place where you can be criticized and judged. That to me is perfectionism, and often that ends up with us wanting to control everything. Often people will think we have it all together, or if we're doing it in a certain way, or if we're doing it another way, we might convince ourselves that we're lazy because we're just procrastinating. Procrastination and perfectionism go hand in hand, because perfectionism is fear, procrastination is avoidance. We procrastinate to avoid feeling those feelings of fear of not being good enough, fear of judgment, fear of criticism that we think will come when we do something that's not good enough. Does that make sense? So often a perfectionist will want to wake up early, have a really productive day. We love feeling productive. We love feeling organized. And what better way to do that than to wake up early and stick to a morning routine? But because if you have this perfectionist fixed mindset, you also believe, you have incredibly high standards for yourself. You really only think something's worth doing if it can be done perfectly. And just by having that mindset about how your day needs to look, like you're thinking, if I wake up early, it better work. Like I better be productive. I better be organized. It better be amazing. It has to be amazing. It has to be amazing for it to be worth it. So we have this really high expectation for ourselves. And then we are scared that we won't be able to live up to it because it's insanely high. Like there's no room for stumbling around, for messing things up. We want it to be perfect. So we stay up late, we fluff around so that we go to bed late, so that we can't wake up early, so that we have an excuse for not having that perfect day. Are you with me? Does this make sense? So it's really a form of self-sabotage. And if you stay up late and fluff around, don't be hard on yourself. It's coming from a good place, in the sense that you're not trying to hurt yourself. You're trying to protect yourself from failing, essentially. By staying up late, you have a it feels crap, but you have an excuse for not having that perfect life. And perfectionism, a lot of it is fear of trying our hardest and it not working. So It's a way to stop ourselves from trying our hardest. I hope this is making sense. It's very, very similar to cramming for exams. This is something I used to do all the time. I probably would still be doing it, except I'm not at uni anymore. But I'll use the example of cramming for exams. It's the same thing. So a perfectionist will usually tell themselves, I just work better under a deadline. The truth is, the reason the deadline and the urgency works is because it forces us to stop procrastinating. If something is due tomorrow, we don't have any more time to avoid the fear that we're not going to be good enough. We just have to get it done. So there's no room for procrastination, which perfectionists are very, very good at. But the main thing is, if we procrastinate and leave it to that deadline and cram, if we don't do as well as we had hoped, we have an excuse for that not happening. So, or for that happening. So if we cram and we get a B, which a lot of perfectionists, that's horrible, then, oh, that sucks, but I didn't try my hard enough. I cannot speak sometimes. It sucks, but I didn't try my hardest. If I had studied earlier, I would have got a better mark. We can live in that fairy tale land where if we tried harder, then we'd be getting a better result. It's exactly the same for waking up early, staying up late. If we stay up late and fluff around, we can live in that fairy tale world of, well, if I didn't stay up late, then I would have an amazing life. And we put that obstacle there as a way to protect ourselves from having to see whether we do actually have what it takes. So this is so common. I think I have an online course called Dream Habit, and one thing that I ask my students is what dream habit they want to create and the biggest obstacle that's stopping them. And as I was mentioning earlier, it's always usually waking up early, and the biggest obstacle is not being able to get to bed on time. And all the advice in the world about all those things, all that fluffy advice isn't going to help if you are using staying up late as a way to protect yourself from failing. So I really want you to start paying attention to whether or not, if you're struggling to get to sleep on time, at the time you planned, the time that would give you enough sleep to be able to wake up early, if you are fluffing around or if you're making good use of that time. So I would try to think back on the last few nights you've stayed up. What were you doing? What activities, for how long, and what benefit did that have in your life? So as I was saying before, I'm not talking about if you have a nighttime routine, you're a writer and you're up late writing. That is totally different. If you're being productive and you feel that's a good use of your time, I'm not suggesting everyone needs to wake up early. This is just those people who are saying, I want to wake up early, but I can't because I can't get to bed on time. So if you're productive at night, amazing, be productive at night. But if you're fluffing around, if you're on Pinterest, if maybe it's really late right now and you're watching this, you're just you know what I mean. Just doing things that are giving you an excuse not to be able to wake up early the next day. Maybe you're scared you won't be able to wake up early in the sense that you've tried it so many times before and you haven't been able to do it. And I will be doing an advice. Can I speak? I will be doing a video on my advice for waking up early. I do have a lot of it, and you don't need to feel like waking up early. No one bounces out of bed. Oh, maybe they do. I don't bounce out of bed, but I do wake up early. So that is another video, but this is such an important part of that, getting to bed on time and knowing whether you are self-sabotaging, whether you're using a late night to protect yourself from like being scared that you won't be able to wake up early, but you got to bed on time, so you have no excuse. Do you know, like, I really hope I am explaining this clearly. It's a concept that has taken me many, many years to understand and to be able to call myself out on it. I've learned so much about self-awareness and self-coaching and all this stuff. I read a lot, but I would say the biggest resource for me has been the Life Coach School podcast. It is a podcast by an amazing woman named Brooke Castillo. She is in California in the US. I love her voice. It's just like, it soothes me. But she has podcasts. It's free, as all podcasts are. I love podcasts. Maybe I will do a video on that too. And through listening to that, I have really, and applying what I've learned, very important, I have learned to call myself out on things like this and the way that we can really get in our own way. I do have a free 7-day challenge as well. If you haven't heard me talking about it, it's on smart-20s.com. It is a 7-day challenge. It's all free, all through email, about how to get over your weight. Okay, now I'm just getting my own head about not being able to speak. Get out of your own way. It's for perfectionists. It's about what perfectionism really is, the way that it can show up in your life, and how I have gotten out of my way. Really practical advice in there. Had a lot of great feedback about it. So check that out. I will leave a link. So yeah, just have a think about whether you are, whether you are getting in your own way by staying up late at night. I never hear anyone talking about this stuff, like, never directly. There's so much surface level advice, but I never found for me that it's worked, and I haven't really been a big one on fluffing around at night because Steve goes to bed early in the scheme of things. He likes to be in bed at like 10ish. So over the years I have got into that routine with him because I want to go to bed at the same time. So it's not really an issue, but when I wasn't living with Steve, I would often stay up late, but then I would also wake up early. And this is how I burnt myself out a lot. So yeah, I really just want you to have a think about whether you have been self-sabotaging, and not to try and change it immediately. So often if we become aware of what we're doing, we'll immediately want to change it and change to the new thing we should be doing. But I think it's really important just to take note of what you're doing and why you might be doing it before you try to change it. Just observe yourself. I love that quote / saying. I heard it a lot when I was doing a lot of Bikram yoga. You cannot be that which you observe. So observe yourself. It's that whole self-awareness thing, and I think it is so important. So really, if you're not getting to sleep on time when you planned and you're fluffing around, ask yourself why. Like, what are you really scared that will happen? Are you scared you won't be able to stick with waking up early? Are you scared you'll keep disappointing yourself like you have in the past? Are you scared you won't actually get as much done as you hope to? Are you scared that, essentially that you'll fail, that you will criticize yourself? Are you scared that you'll feel worse than you do now if you can't stick to it? Like, what is stopping you from really trying to wake up early and have an amazing day? It can take a lot of time to really get clear on that, and there is a lot of self-awareness needed, and no one talks about this stuff, so you might have never even heard of this being a thing before. But I do suggest really trying to observe yourself and then slowly changing that mindset in the sense that just being willing to put the effort in and potentially not get the result. It's a whole nother thing, and something perfectionists really struggle with. We have this whole fear of wasted effort because part of the perfectionist mindset is that effort is only worthwhile if it gets a result, and if that result is perfect and lives up to our insanely high expectations and will make other people like us. So if we're so worried that we'll do something and it won't be worth it, so we won't get the result we want, so we don't do it, and we guarantee we don't get the result we want. It's nuts, which is why I'm so fascinated with it. I think that there are a lot of people in this mindset, and the answer isn't overcoming it as such. The answer is just learning how to call yourself out on it, how to learn how to get out of your own way, how to stop self-sabotaging. I don't think all that advice about just understand that nobody's perfect and imperfection is what makes us all valuable. I think that's very true, both of those statements, but for me as a perfectionist, someone in that mindset, when I hear people say nobody's perfect, it doesn't help, because my need for it to be perfect is driven by fear, and that nobody's perfect doesn't help me work with that fear. So let me just check how long I've been chatting. 20 minutes. So I really just want you to have a think about whether you're doing this, and there are so many ways it can turn up, as I was saying, cramming for exams, we can do it with the gym and stuff like that, by spending so long on Instagram or Pinterest that we suddenly don't have time to go to the gym. And this is actually, and I will do another video on this too. I know everything throughout this video I've been like, I'm gonna do another video. There's so much to it, and I really want to try and stick on one topic. I know I have not done well at that so far, but I think that if you're finding yourself being too busy to wake up early or to go to the gym or to study, I would suggest to you that you might be filling your time with the unimportant, comfortable things, so that you don't have time for the things that really matter and the things that are going to push you out of your comfort zone, the things you might fail at. So yeah, just something to be aware of. And as I was saying, I haven't really had experience with being a big fluffer arounder. What word is it? But I hear from so many of you that struggle with it. If you are still struggling with it, please send me an email. But I think as well, a great tool to apply any of the things I have spoken about today is to write about it. I find that when I write about things, the thoughts that I uncover go so much deeper than if I'm just thinking about it in my mind. I think it's partly because when you're writing something down, you're forced to articulate it, and you can also just really get into a flow. Of course, it's best to write uncensored and to not show anyone, because if you're a perfectionist, if anyone else is gonna see it, you're probably gonna not write what's true. So just letting yourself really write out the answer to that. What am I scared of? What am I scared will happen if I go to bed early on time? That, I know it sounds like the dumbest question, because the first answer you might think of is that there shouldn't be anything. I'm not scared because that would actually give me the life that I want. Why would I be scared? But if you have a history of not finishing anything that you start, if you have a history of disappointing yourself, if you have a history of not being able to stick to things, of not being able to stay consistent, then I would suggest that you are in fact scared of going to bed on time. As silly as that sounds, you are scared of letting yourself down. So really get clear on that, and once you have called yourself out, it'll be so much easier to be like, oh, I'm actually just on Pinterest now because I'm scared that I won't be able to stick to waking up early. Okay, let's just go to bed. Do you know what I mean? You can have that chat to yourself instead of thinking that your problem is you're addicted to Pinterest or Netflix, or thinking that your problem is that you're just a night owl. Like, it's fear. I'm really suggesting to you that it's fear. And once you shine some light on it, it will be a lot easier to not necessarily be fearless, but to feel the fear and do it anyway. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you found this helpful. If you've never heard of this idea before, you might need to listen to this a couple of times. I will be doing other videos on related topics, how to wake up early, more about perfectionism, how to tell if you're a perfectionist, because I hear from so many people that they didn't think they were a perfectionist, and then they read the stuff I was talking about and they're like, oh yeah, I actually am one. It isn't necessarily that you want things to be perfect. It's really more the fear side. So I would say a few signs are that if you have been thinking of doing something for ages but you haven't started it, if you never finish anything that you start, if you really struggle to stay consistent, if you procrastinate, that's perfectionism. If you cram for exams, these are all signs. I'm going to be doing a full video on that as well. So I hope you found this helpful. I will talk to you again soon. I hope you're having an amazing day. Bye.